Golden Eagles, welcome to Eagle Interview. I'm your host, Kaylon Moran, and today we have a very special guest. She's the director of the Roy Howard Community Journalism Center, Miss Nichole Cyprian. Hi, thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
Absolutely.
It's so lovely to have you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, of course. So just to jump in a little bit, what is the Roy Howard Community Journalism Center, and who is Roy Howard?
Okay, so I'll start a little bit first with Roy Howard, pioneering journalist. He covered both world wars, has covered international, national news. He was the chairman of the Scripps Howard newspapers. He was a bold journalist. He was someone who really understood the power of words and the power of journalism. The foundation, the Scripps Howard Foundation, has taken that same mission of its namesake and opened 3 different centers. There is a Howard Center for Investigative Journalism at Arizona State. There is a Howard Center for Data Journalism at the University of Maryland. And then we have the Roy Howard Community Journalism Center here at Southern Miss, the first of its kind. So what we do is essentially a threefold mission. For one thing, we want to make sure that essentially we are correcting what you can call a news desert in Southeast Mississippi. A news desert means that there is either no local news or limited local news in that area. So for example, you have TV stations, right? You have newspapers, but we're in 2025, inflation is a thing. Staffing at a lot of these newspapers and TV stations isn't what it used to be. Resources aren't what they used to be. So the coverage of a lot of community events, a lot of community stories, news that used to be covered 30, 40, 50 years ago sometimes goes unreported. That's one of the things that we at the Roy Howard Community Journalism Center want to help improve, particularly in Southeast Mississippi, where you might only have 1 or 2 TV news outlets, maybe a handful of newspaper outlets that are running and gunning with very limited staff and resources. We do that work with our students, and that's the second part of our mission, is that we want students here at Southern Miss and across Mississippi to get the experience of covering real news out in the field and being able to have their work published and broadcast to be able to grow their own portfolios. So we create content. We have 7 full-time staff members in our center. 6 of them are former journalists who have worked in the field, print, digital, broadcast. So all of us come together and share our knowledge, our skill sets with students. We go out with the students. We have editorial meetings with the students and give them a real life experience of what they would see in the industry depending on what field they go in. They are the ones who are working on this content. They are the ones who are doing the interviews. They are the ones who are writing these stories. And these stories are then shared with media outlets from across the state, who then publish them in their own newspapers, put them on their own websites, put them on their own TV stations, broadcast it on radio. It's a great opportunity for students to be able to get real life experience and bridging that gap between college and career. And then the third part of what we do involves our media outlets. Again, talked a little bit about the fact that, staffing and resources for a lot of these organizations isn't what it used to be. This is an opportunity for them to be able to cover parts of the state that maybe they wouldn't get to all the time, or as some people say, we only see you when the bad things happen, right? But there's a lot more that's happening in Lucedale, in Greene County, in Stone County than the bad things. Our organization has the opportunity to be able to cover those stories and then share it with these media outlets so that communities across the state can read those stories and see those stories. On top of all of those things, we are focused heavily on media literacy. We have our What is True hotline that essentially works to give our audience an opportunity to figure out mis and disinformation on their own. How do I recognize it on social media? I saw this thing come across my Nextdoor app. I don't know if it's true. Our service is there to be able to help people figure out if this is something that is actually something I should pay attention to, or if this is mis or disinformation, is this information that I really need in my life?
Right, absolutely. and I think you already touched a little bit on my next question, is so you have a lot of students working under you and learning to become good journalists in their own right, and you said, like, you know, you're covering all different areas of Mississippi, whether it's a larger community or a smaller community. Would you say that the students are the one who go out and they pick their own story and they say, I want to cover this part of Mississippi, or is this something where you all come together and you say, okay, we're going to focus on this area, and then next week we'll focus on this? How do you decide that?
It's a little bit of both, and I'm glad you touched on that. So at least in broadcast TV news, I can speak for that. We typically in the professional world have what we call editorial meetings, where everyone comes together to discuss the stories of the day, what's happening in the community. It's a daily meeting that happens. We wanted to recreate that same kind of environment here at Southern Miss and give the students the opportunity to see, you know, it's not just about what you think may be news, it's a collaborative effort, because we all come from different backgrounds. We all have different life experiences that inform our decisions as to why this may be news. So those editorial meetings allow us to do that. All of the students within our organization send what we call story pitches. What is happening in the state? What is happening in your community that is newsworthy? Something that you think should be covered, something that has some appeal to a broader audience that they would be invested in knowing about. They submit those pitches Thursday at noon. And they know that's our mantra, Thursday at noon, when those story pitches are due. And then our professional staff looks through them all, picks about 3 or 4 stories, and then we discuss them as a group. From there, the stories are selected from everyone. We talk about the pros and the cons. What could be barriers for us covering this particular story? What could be something that would enhance this particular story? Our students are then split into teams. So we have students who are reporters. We have students who work on our digital staff. We have students who do research for us. We have students who are photographers, videographers. We have students who develop our website. So everyone is split into teams. I forgot our strategic communications team as well. And then from there, they are working on particular parts of the story under deadline. So they may have to complete the web story, you know, in a 24-hour, 48-hour period. That allows for the next person on their team to be able to complete their portion. So it's a very strict and meticulous process, but it does allow for everyone to be able to interject their own ideas and their own thoughts. We want everyone to come to the table with something to contribute.
Right, absolutely. And it sounds like such a well thought out process that, you know, like you said, there are strict deadlines and stuff, but it's really important that students have that kind of real world, realistic approach at it, where they know, you know, there are deadlines in the real world and you have to meet them for the next group of people to do their job. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really good that students get like such a good, strong experience here. And you touched on it a little bit before, but I did some research into it myself and I was very interested. Your What is True service, I think, is such a fantastic service available to, you know, not only students, but anybody who's interested.
Absolutely.
Can you kind of touch a little bit on why that is so crucial, especially in today's society?
Yeah, it's scary out there, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You know, and AI doesn't make it any better. Mm-hmm. With, you know, you don't necessarily know if the information, or these days even the images that you see, are coming from an actual source of valuable information, or if it's something that was just generated through a computer or generated by someone who may have their own nefarious reasons, or just through not knowing, maybe sharing information that is inaccurate, right? Mm-hmm. What we want to do is empower people to understand that they have the source in their hands. They can intelligently figure out whether or not information is false, fake, misinformation, disinformation, through just knowing a few key things. You know, am I reading something that's triggering deep emotions in me? Anger, frustration, you know, sadness, hurt. Depending on what the title, the headline of that story is, or some of the information in that story, it could be mis or disinformation, because a lot of that is triggered off of emotion, right? Mm-hmm. So our service is multiple fold, but the you know, the hotline itself is available to anyone, whether you are a student, whether you're in the community, even some people in our office have utilized the service. You can call us. You can send us an email, or you can go to our website, rhcjcnews.com, and complete the form online and just put in the information of what you may have a question about. And we will get back to you within a 24 to 48 hour period, investigate the claims that you want to know about, and we'll get back in touch with you and let you know, here's what we found, here's what is true, here's what's not true. In addition to that particular service, we do media literacy trainings. We will, go to classes. We will go to different organizations and coach them on here's what mis and disinformation look like. And it's happening right in front of your face. You may not even know it, but here's how you recognize the signs, right? We have a certification program so that if there is someone who is interested in, taking the information that they're learning from us and being able to share it with their own civic groups, with their own, community groups or student organizations, they can actually become media literacy trainers themselves and be able to take the information we're giving and give it to others. For us, the most important thing is that people are empowered to be able to figure out, essentially what is true, and if this is information that I should share with my loved ones, or if this is information that's meant to mislead me.
Right, absolutely. And I encourage anybody who's out there to go and utilize that service, because it is incredibly important, especially in today's society, that you stay, factually aware of what's true and what's not. And the people at the Roy Howard Community Journalism Center are doing great work, and, they're going to do the best they can to make sure that all the truth they see is factual.
Absolutely.
And speaking of all the great work that you're doing amazing right now. The Journalism Center is such a wonderful, journalism center right now. They're doing so good, and it's so amazing to see all these student reporters, and then the facts being reported along with the faculty working so hard. So what do you hope to see happen in the future? What are some goals and, hopes for expansion that you want to see come true in the future?
Oh, there's so many things, one of the immediate goals is for us to be able to create more events and series that involve students, not only part of the center, part of the school, the media School of Media and Communication, but also students from across the campus. We're working on one series right now called Media Mentors, where we're bringing in professionals from outside of the building, professionals from television, from radio, from public relations. I spoke with someone from the National Guard just yesterday about what we're doing and how they would be interested in coming to speak to our students, because communication is not just the practice of journalism. No matter what you do, whether you're a business major, whether you're working in, the science tower, whether you are, working in counseling, whatever you do, you utilize communication skills. So there is something that you can learn from a media professional, no matter what kind of media or medium they are practicing. So that's one thing that we're working on. For the future, we have 3 bureaus right now. We have one in Jackson, obviously our main site here in Hattiesburg, and then a bureau on our Gulf Park campus. I would love for us to be able to expand, further north in the state, to be able to have real stretch across the state. I would love for us to be able to expand our What is True program, our media literacy program. There's so many things. We've been working very close with the Scripps Howard Foundation, and really kudos for them for seeing the vision of what this could be, and for trusting Southern Miss to be able to carry out this vision, and also to Dr. Simpson for writing the grant that even got the Roy Howard Community Journalism Center here. I foresee that we are going to be here for a very long time, and that we are going to do as much as we can to be able to grow. We may have to pivot at times, because again, we're the first of our kind in the nation, which is a huge honor, but can also be a huge challenge when you talk about what's that next step. We've done this, but what is the next step that is really going to help students, help the community, and help other media organizations in Mississippi and hopefully beyond?
Right, absolutely. It can be a bit challenging because, like you said, you are the first of your kind, but I think, you're coming out so strong and so head fast, like with such ambitious goals, that, I can absolutely see what you say, all of those goals in the future succeeding. And speaking of, expanding in the future and stuff, obviously that comes with getting new journalists, new student journalists to join the organization. So what would you say or what would you advise for students who are interested in coming to Roy Howard, and how would they begin? Like, what advice would you give for them?
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice is to be inquisitive, to have initiative, and to want to try something different. It can be scary to do something like this because you're out in the community in a way that you've never been before, right? You're talking to strangers, and sometimes it may be on one of the worst days of their life. You just never know what you might walk into when you're covering some of these stories, right? It's doing something different, and it takes courage to do that. We are here to be able to help walk students through that. So we want them to take the chance. Trust us in knowing that if it's not for you, then we can find something that is going to work for you. Reporting may not be your thing, and that's okay. You don't have to be a reporter, but that doesn't mean that this field is not for you. Obviously we encourage all of our journalism students to come and talk with us, to come check us out. We're right there on the first floor, room 103. Come and talk with us. But it's not just for journalism students, right? If you're interested in communications, come on and talk with us. If you're interested, I don't know, in political science, come and talk with us. I think one of the things that people don't think about is that there are experts in every single field that go onto, television stations every day, that speak with print organizations every day, and you have to know how to present that information. You have to understand how you convey your points. We can help with that. We can help build the foundation for what that communication looks like through the work that we are doing. So you don't necessarily have to just be a journalism major to be able to be part of the center. We have computer science majors who are working with us and are doing a fantastic job. It's something that they may have a passion for, even though that's not what they're majoring or minoring in, but it's something that they have an interest in. So any student who has any kind of interest or even a curiosity about what we do, stop by. If you're interested in getting involved, every semester we are putting out applications on RHCJC.com. We have a jobs tab, a student jobs tab. You can go there, and that's where you can find those applications. Right now we are packed for the spring, but for the summer, for the fall, we'll be putting out information about when you can apply for those jobs. Summer internships. We do offer paid summer internships and also internships for class, and that's not just for Southern Miss students, that's for students across Mississippi. So that's also something that students can take advantage of as well. So any students, if you go to Southern Miss and you have an interest in writing, if you have an interest in communicating, if you're just curious about what the heck we do, come on through, we're there.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned that communication and working in the center can be such a broad field, because you're right, it isn't just about journalism. There are all different types of jobs and types of positions that just go into producing stories and making them look nice and making sure they're available to the masses. So where can students and anybody who's just interested in reading material from the Roy Howard Community Journalism Center, where can they go to find these stories, to learn more about the history of the Journalism Center? Where can they go to apply for such positions like you said?
Yeah, our website, rhcjcnews.com, is the best place to go. That's where you'll find information about, our news literacy, our media literacy events. We have one coming up on the 28th. That'll be right here in the USM's library, and I'll get you more information on that. But that's where you can find information about our events. That's where you can find all of our news stories that all of our students have done. We produce news stories every Monday. And then, of course, we're updating stories as we go throughout the week. So all of our students, they have a byline. So if they have contributed to that story, their name is on that story. Their picture is on our website. They have a portfolio through our website. You can go and read about all the students and read about our staff in the About Us section where we have all of their profiles. You can also find out any information that you'd like to about, what we have coming up with What Is True. All the investigations that we've done with that. We've done a few investigations that have been sent to us. Things that came through text message, things that were posted to Nextdoor, local questions, national questions, from, dealing with President Trump all the way down to, we're hearing rumors that this is going on. When we investigate something, we post it to our website, we post it to our social media feeds. So I encourage everyone to follow us, to check out our website again, rhcjcnews.com, and see what we do.
Right. Yes, I am definitely going to be checking y'all out a lot in the future. I think you're just such a fantastic resource for students, for anybody, and for aspiring students who want to get into the field of journalism, or those who just may have a passion for it. Y'all are doing such an amazing job, and I really can't wait to see how much you grow in the future.
Thank you so much. We're excited. We're looking forward to growing in the future, and hopefully the next time I'm sitting down and talking with you, I have even more to share.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much again for sitting down with me. This has been so amazing to just sit and learn about, the Roy Howard Community Journalism Center. And I'm so excited to see where it goes in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Kaylon. I appreciate it.
And thank you again. And thank you so much, Golden Eagles, for sitting down with us today. We'll see you next time.